Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Richard Kuo. This week we're going to get a little bit more cultural and talk about 8 things traditional Asian parents don't understand about their children. Number 1 is that traditional Asian parents don't understand that their kids want to be more independent and make decisions for their own lives. So oftentimes I think what Asian parents do is that they tend to dictate or manage what their children's lives should look like because they believe that their version of success is what their children's version of success should be. Oftentimes that looks like being a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, things like that. While the new age, what children really want is they want to live their own life. They want to be happy by themselves. Point number 2 is that traditional Asian parents believe that grades are everything. They believe that getting those good grades will result into getting into a very top tier school such as Harvard, Yale, Brown, Princeton, Berkeley, UCLA. While that is the case and that is absolutely true that those high grades will help get there, that's not the only way to be successful, and there's so many different ways, and grades aren't everything, as you'll see as we continue this list. Number 3 is that kids socializing with their friends is actually a very, very important skill. I think oftentimes parents of traditional background tend to focus on academics so much that they say, hey, stop spending time with your stop spending time with your friends. Now, although it is important to moderate time spent with friends and socializing in itself is very important to build up those skills that will be very, very likable for jobs and companies to hire you, as well as starting up businesses because you have those personal skills with other people. Number 4 is that kids already put enough pressure on themselves. They don't necessarily need it from their parents as well. Growing up for myself, I remember being in middle school and high school, I used to put a ton of pressure on myself to do well because I wasn't doing well. I wasn't performing up to my own standards. I wasn't performing up to my parents' standards. So there's already so much pressure on us. And one thing that I did not appreciate was my mom and my dad putting that additional pressure on me and making me feel a little bit more miserable. Although, did it achieve the higher grades? A little bit, yes, but at the same time, emotionally, it did not work very well for me. Number 5. Kids would prefer to open up with their parents if their parents weren't so judgmental. Now, this is kind of a tricky one. I think especially Asian Americans would like to have a more open relationship with their parents where they share things, they talk about relationships, they talk about sex, they talk about school, any of their challenges, just like a lot of their Caucasian or other friends may see in them. However, this is a little bit tricky because yes, if a parent is coming from a traditional background, I will say it is much more difficult to open up to someone who is not comfortable naturally with sharing their life story, sharing and being vulnerable about their faults and their relationships and everything like that, because that's just not a part of traditional Asian culture. So this I would take with a grain of salt. I would say that kids prefer to open up with their parents if they are also willing to open up. Number 6, this goes back to a previously said statement. Success does not need to look like being a doctor, accountant, or lawyer. Those are traditional ones, and those, of course, are very high money-making versions of success. However, today's definition of success is much different than the ones of the past. Yes, money is helpful. However, success does not necessarily need to equate to money. Oftentimes, what Asian kids want is they want the freedom to pursue what they want, their passions in their life, and that is not always a doctor, lawyer, or accountant. Number 7, what makes a parent happy doesn't necessarily mean it'll make the kid happy. I think oftentimes traditional Asian parents focus so much on their children succeeding and getting those high grades and making a lot of money, and sometimes that's not what the children care for. For example, this guy right here. For myself, I never really cared about money very much. I've had my own passion, and my version of success is really finding and building up my own speaking business, creating YouTube content, and also coaching people in what I'm passionate about, which is self-esteem. That being said, I've created a business and I guess my own branding around this because, well, this is what I want to do, and I believe this is my version of success. And number 8, this is kind of a bonus one, but children don't always want to be served. I think one thing that my parents tried to do growing up, because they really cared about me, besides micromanaging my life, they would also try to serve me in certain ways. My father was a really good example of this. He would always try to serve me, do things for me, while for myself, being a kid, I didn't always need that support in that way. And so I always say, no, 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 that's okay. And he always would be like, yes, 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 you take. Otherwise, you're being disrespectful. For me as a kid, I did not need that. I appreciate it, but just did not need it. And sometimes it came off as annoying. So just keep that in mind, that your children are fully capable of handling their own lives and doing things for themselves. They don't need their laundry washed. They don't need their dishes cleaned, food cooked. Although that is nice and supportive, just make sure if you are a parent, work with your children on that one. All right. So hopefully you found this video relatable, entertaining. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the 8 things that were listed. My Asian friends and my non-Asian friends, I'd love to know which one of these resonated with you, and I would love to know which ones did we miss on this list, both Asian and non-Asian friends. All right. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was supportive to you. And if you want more life advice or support answering those tough life questions, be sure to subscribe, because I post every single Wednesday and Friday, and soon enough Monday as well. Also, if you want to learn a little bit about my life, I vlog live at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every single day on Facebook. So check me out there. Love y'all. Take care.